This is the G Podcast with your host, Tommy B.
News team, assemble!
It's time for the Week in News with Syracuse Mike.
South Carolina's effort to redraw congressional districts is on hold after the Republican-led state Senate voted Tuesday against advancing a new map. The proposal, backed by President Trump, would have eliminated the state's only majority black district, represented by longtime Democratic Congressman James Clyburn. The state House had already approved the map, hoping to use it for this year's midterm elections. But with early voting already underway for the June 9th primary, some state Republicans argued it was too late to make the change. In a new interview on CBS, former First Lady Jill Biden says she feared then-President Joe Biden was having a stroke during his widely criticized June 2024 debate performance. Dr. Biden says she had never seen her husband appear that way before. The debate intensified questions about Joe Biden's cognitive health and eventually led to his withdrawal from the presidential race. The full interview airs this weekend on CBS Sunday morning. It's still unclear if there's a deal or not. President Trump is reviewing a tentative agreement between the U.S. and Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz and extend a 7-week ceasefire while nuclear talks continue. Officials say the deal would require Iran to clear mines from the waterway and allow unrestricted shipping. In return, the U.S. would ease some oil sanctions and lift a blockade on Iranian ports. Iran has not yet approved the proposal, and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who handled a Thursday press briefing, said nothing is final until the president makes a decision.
Everything depends on what the president wants to do, and President Trump is not going to make a bad deal for the American people.
When the president will make a decision is unclear. A federal judge has blocked President Trump from adding his name to the Kennedy Center and says it must be removed. He ruled the arts complex must remain dedicated to President John F. Kennedy. The judge also temporarily stopped plans to close the center in July for a 2-year renovation, adding only Congress can change the Kennedy Center's name.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to episode 312 of This is the G Podcast. Yes. What's going on, y'all? Yes, we're your weekly recap podcast, news, politics, pop culture, the T. Make sure you are following us on Spotify at This is the G Podcast. Let me be very clear, on Spotify at This is the G Podcast. Do it today. Got to say what's up, y'all. What's up, Tonya B?
I'm back in the building. Back in the building.
What's going on? It's summertime, post Memorial Day. What you got going on?
Well, y'all might want to come over to my side of town. We be cooking lobster again this weekend.
We be cooking lobster.
We be cooking, yes. We be cooking, yeah.
Good stuff. Well, I know Talib. Look at Talib's smile.
Talib knows what. Okay, yeah. I'll put yours outside. I'll get your plate to go.
Yeah, please. I don't even have to, make it so I don't even have to stop off. I can just run and grab and go.
You like can DoorDash.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Reverse.
DoorDash in reverse.
And there he is, y'all. Y'all heard the voice. He's the one and only Talib Shabazz. Man, what's up, Talib?
Hey.
What you got going on, man? What you got going on?
I got moving going on. You want to come through?
Oh, moving. No. I ain't got no truck.
Man, look, telling you, man, those records are a labor of love, brother.
Oh,
you got that right.
A labor of love.
I got one. The main question is, are you staying in East Point? Are you?
Looks like it. Yeah.
Okay.
So, for some reason right now, East Point's talking to me. Really, it's because it's close to the job. That's it. I don't want to be in traffic, y'all. It's just as simple as that,
I do not blame you, bro.
Me
I do
either.
not blame you.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, I was over in the area last week, man. Shout out to my 7th grade teacher.
Oh wow,
Miss Floyd, C.E. Floyd. That's she got so many full names. They call it so much, but man, she had a very how do you say it? Posh 90th birthday celebration.
Wow.
Okay.
And I'm here to tell you, man, I had her on the podcast probably may have been 5 years ago or so when I did a podcast with my favorite teachers. She was one of them. And she is, I mean, so incredibly sharp.
Yeah.
My look has changed multiple times. It's just the nature of not having to deal with the corporate life. You can do what you want to do. So I'm walking over with another friend. We both graduated together. We were in her class. And immediately it's like she's like just looking across the room and she just shouts our names. So
wow.
It's just, I mean, and it's just incredible. I just
wow.
If I could just get a third of that, if I reach that age, because I'm already slack.
Yeah, seriously. It's funny. A similar situation. I have the chorus teacher from my middle school, from my junior high school in New York, Miss Chavis. Miss Hudley. Has been very active in the community in New York, and I've been keeping in touch with her over the Facebook. And I mean, it's just I'm so. It's such a good feeling that somebody who influenced our lives is still around like that, and sharp and active, and is really making a difference. You know what I mean? It's incredible, man.
And one more shout out, and I think she's still listening because just like your teachers on Facebook, my what's it, 4th grade, 5th grade teacher was on Facebook, and she don't mean this in a negative way. She's the only white teacher at the school, I think. when I was at Grove Park, she was the only one.
Right.
But real cool, man. One of my favorite teachers. She was on the podcast as well. And she's running marathons, dude.
Wow.
I mean, she moved, married, family moved to Arizona. And when you go to her Facebook page, she's always running races. So it's just crazy. I'm like, damn, y'all, man, give me some of that.
Yeah, exactly.
I definitely want some of that. Hey, y'all. So there's a lot going on. Big thanks to Syracuse Mike. And I let Mike really handle a lot of the POTUS and SCOTUS, everything that's going on. There's just so much stuff that, I let Mike handle the news for now until a lot of this gets sorted out. But two of the things we haven't had a chance to talk about because, we've been on hiatus. The political part of this, I did the podcast with Hitman Howie. If y'all have not had a chance to see it or hear it, go back. It's episode 311, and that talks about the remnants of the Georgia primary and the Alabama primary. So if you want to hear about that, go back and check it out. But Kevin Hart, the Kevin Hart Netflix thing, I know it's been talked about, it's been tossed around. We just haven't had a chance to weigh in on it, and I didn't want to let it pass. Because we talk so much about pop culture, we definitely talk about comedians on this show, and I wanted to give you guys a chance to talk about it. I think it is, of all the things that happen in pop culture, I think this is important, and I'll tell you why. I grew up, and all of us grew up on this podcast with Richard Pryor.
Yes.
And we grew up in an age of where the comedians mattered so much because you had so much going on in Black life. That we had comedians who were very insightful, observational comics.
Yes.
Rich Pryor was one of my favorites. Of course, Paul Mooney wrote for Richard Pryor. so didn't shit get past Richard Pryor. I mean, Paul Mooney was on his game.
He was.
Yeah.
So with that said, I think it's important for us in our generation to at least speak to it because I hope that the newer generation understands what's going on here and why it's so important not to just accept it. I know he's been on kind of going around Breakfast Club, a lot of other morning shows explaining his side of it, but I want to be clear. But I'm gonna start with you, Tonya B. You do entertainment. I'll just give some context, of course, for those who don't know. Netflix aired The Roast of Kevin Hart. It was in May 2026. As a matter of fact, it's still on the platform, still streaming well. It was meant to be a celebration of Hart's career, and it turned into just a shit show, in my opinion, over jokes involving lynching and George Floyd.
Yeah.
Now, the specific jokes that people are upset about, there are several, but just to kind of hone in so we're not talking about the whole show. Shane Gillis joke that, Hart is so short, you'd have to lynch him from a bonsai tree. Now, y'all know what a bonsai tree is, so Japanese culture, small little tree. So, okay, funny. Tony Hinchcliffe. I wasn't familiar with him as a comedian.
Me either.
He was not on my radar. But he said the black community is so proud of you. Right now, George Floyd is looking up at us, all laughing so hard he can't breathe. Now, I'm going to leave it at that, but I want to start with you, Tonya B. Your thoughts just in general. You know, there's some other things that we can talk about. I'll mention them in a few.
You know, my thing is they say, oh, it's just comedy. But that does not give you license to be an a-hole and say anything and think you can get away with it and think, oh, it's just comedy. It's funny. No, the F is not funny. Okay. And I'm going to say that, I'll say this. When it comes to unfunny, Kevin Hart has never made me laugh. So, you know.
And you're from Philly.
Well, I
you're
came
his home girl. Well, not from, but you lived there.
Yes. I lived there enough years to kind of claim that as my second home. So and I'm like, and he's like, oh, I'm 10 toes down with this. I'm like, okay, how much did they pay you to say that? Because we all know he's got financial problems. You know, and that deal with Netflix, even though I think, you know, sometimes people do that to spark controversy and, you know, as a stunt. So more people will go to Netflix, more people will watch this, I call it an OST, the OST, you know, just to get the numbers up. You know? I mean, really, they do it all. I mean, we know a lot of people that do that on a daily basis. That's one thing. The other thing is, you know, you have to know what's off limits and what is, I don't say politically incorrect. I call it politically disrespectful. And I thought those comments were politically disrespectful, and you do not get a pass for that. So if you thought you were coming to the cookout, the family reunion, or to my lobster fest, you are officially uninvited. And Kevin Hart, you know what? I just say, as you know, our teachers would say to us back in the day, shame on you. I mean, really, if he's going to defend all of that, Michigas, and I'll be nice and say that I want to say something else, then you know he's making other people think it's okay to say things like that.
Yeah, and I'll say this, and according to Kevin, he said roast rules apply. He argued that the roast are spaces where racial humor is on the table and boundaries are meant to be pushed. Now, I grew up, I'm gonna put myself out there. I grew up on the Dean Martin roast too, okay? And I know, because the person who was probably the edgiest comedian general market growing up, outside of, you know, our Richard Pryor, you know, and the ones, was Don Rickles.
Don Rickles, exactly.
Now Don was the master of going there. But Don never crossed the line. I mean, Don would make Jewish jokes. He was Jewish, okay? Right. He would definitely make Italian jokes against Frank Sinatra, and he would go after, even when they were on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. He pushed the limit, but I never thought even Rickles went across the line. And bring it probably a little bit more modern day. Y'all know from Conan, Triumph. The insult dog.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now Triumph pushes that shit. He's like the Don Rickles of today. He took all Don style and presentation and put it in a puppet, you know, and funny as hell. But never, I don't even think Triumph would do a joke like the George Floyd joke. You know, and I'm gonna go to you real quick. Go ahead, Talib. I'll go to you.
It's just a lot.
Okay, so first of all, I consider Kevin Hart to be the black Ben Stiller. You know,
is that good or bad?
Well, no, it really just kind of applies to, you know, his type of humor. Yeah. He is self-deprecating. He is slapstick, and you know, he'll put on a dress. And you know, I'm not saying that, you know, I get it, but to me, that slapstick, self-deprecating, borderline homosexual stuff, you know what I mean, is just not really my jam. So Kevin Hart, you know, his stand-up, I think I may have seen one or two stand-ups that he's done that I was really like, yo, he's okay, that was good. You know, so in terms of me and where I put Kevin Hart, you know, it's a very, you know, it's a very limited dealing with.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Okay. Yeah. With that being said, look, I love tasteless jokes.
Yeah,
yo,
I mean,
honestly,
I love it.
the bonsai tree is classic. The bonsai tree was classic. So, but we again, I have to say that yes, roasts are going to push the boundaries, and I'm cool with pushing the boundaries, but it better be funny. Like if you're dropping the rape joke, you know what I mean? Yo, you better make sure that every punchline lands so that people can be like, oh, I don't want to laugh, but yo, I gotta chuckle a little bit. You understand what I mean? And that was not happening that night, and that's what the problem was. You know, the George Floyd joke just wasn't funny. It wasn't funny. You know, George Floyd looking up at us. You know what I mean? Like, yo. So if you're going to approve, if you're really going to approve these jokes, you got to make sure that they're going to land like it's supposed to, because otherwise you're going to get punched in the mouth. And honestly speaking, I wanted to punch a couple of them straight in the mouth when I saw what I saw. You know what I mean? Like it's a difference when you're trying to be funny and then sometimes when you're trying to be hurtful.
Yeah.
When you're being funny to be hurtful, that's a whole different story. You know what I mean? And that's what I felt like I got from a lot of the roast. But I will say props to Cat Williams. I don't know if Cat Williams is having money problems, but I know he got paid to be there. But I will definitely give Cat Williams props for the hug at the end of his routine. Even if it wasn't the most heartfelt, you know, like we're gonna squash the beef, the public squashing of beef is always good. You know what I mean?
I agree.
And so I give much respect for that. But in terms of everything else, I mean, these roasts these days, I mean, you know, where was Lisa Lampanelli?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where's the sleeping with black jokes?
Yeah, that was hilarious.
You know what I mean?
But you know, here's the thing, and you talk about the George Floyd joke, and the guy who did it, Hinchcliffe. He said Hinchcliffe was one of the best sets. He said Hinchcliffe did the best set. He noted that there was an attempted joke about Melania Trump that was cut for being in poor taste. So he said that there was a line that existed, and he didn't believe Hinchcliffe crossed the line. Now, here, just a couple of, you know, people who were saying it's a problem, the whole thing's problematic. And they said real trauma is not a punchline. You know, and George Floyd's brother said Hart should have brought that Will Smith energy. And you know what he means. And stop the joke.
They didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, and the other, some people are calling it, like, you know, when you look at Hinchcliffe and you look at the other white comedian, it's the maggotization of comedy. You know, they're saying, you know, critics argue that the special highlighted is a shift from clever insults to cruelty.
Exactly.
And I'm here to tell you what it feels like is more cruel. I can look at Dean Martin and feel good when I look at, even though, you know, it could have been on the edge. I can have fun, enjoy when Triumph is slaying people. You know, when he was outside the Star Wars convention calling them nerds with no girlfriends. When's the last time you got laid? Triumph is brilliant. And Chelsea Handler stepped up, which was interesting.
Chelsea, right?
Yeah, you know, 50 Cent Chelsea. She stepped up and called Gillis and Hinchcliffe racist and bigots. Yeah. And called them out for the lynching joke as you know, she said it was worse than rape. So, you know, and that's Chelsea, you know, even though, you know, she went to Brother.
Wow.
Thank goodness there are people that still have a moral compass. You know
exactly.
What I mean? And can look at the situation, but, you know, and call it for what it is. But two things I really want to say real quick. What was the name of the comedian who did the the Republican convention that everybody was like, he did the Puerto Rico joke?
I don't know. I mean,
you know, that's kind of what if you remember what I'm talking about, that's what I compared to the George Floyd joke and a couple of the other jokes that were passed that night. Exactly. It was meant to be trauma. Mean. It was meant to be mean. And that's never good. Second thing, you know, but we have to look, I know, yes, roasts, the Dean Martin roasts, back then were, pushing the boundaries at that time. But I do remember the Richard Pryor roast, and there were quite a few gay jokes going around at that time, especially talking about him and Paul Mooney.
Okay.
So, and at that time, I don't think I didn't pick up, of course, it was years later before I really understood that that's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't get a lot of that until now. But,
right.
but back then it was
like,
right over your head.
whoa. So, so again, roasts always make people feel very, very uncomfortable. Yeah. And I like when humor makes people feel uncomfortable. What I don't like is when it makes them feel hurt. You know what I mean?
Let me say, and I'll say this, man. The roast culture that exists now, I don't watch it. I really don't, because it's cringy. It's cringy because it's not clever. Just like I didn't watch the Tom Brady roast.
Yeah.
Because
Brady roast was pretty bad.
It was. I mean,
thanks.
It was getting personal. It wasn't even talking.
Right.
It was,
somebody say something about his wife or him and his wife?
It was like, damn, y'all going there.
It wasn't funny.
I mean, you could say something like, as a comedian, clever, like with a punchline, like a dum kind of,
right?
Drum roll.
Exactly.
But they were going in.
Yes.
Pulling out bats.
Yeah.
So I just don't. I mean, I'm not down with the roast culture that exists now. That doesn't mean that I'm not. I mean, look, you mentioned Ben Stiller. I mean, Tropic Thunder is still one of the funniest damn movies. with what's his name, Downey. It still has that humor, but it didn't go over. It was almost like, I mean, I'll be quite honest, it wasn't minstrel. He was like, damn, the brother think he's black. He really coming out.
Right, exactly.
I mean, it wasn't like he had to do some kind of stereotype. No, he just felt like he's a real brother. Damn, this brother studied. He must have black friends galore. But
and that's that's the thing. I don't mean to cut you, Tonya.
No, go ahead. I'm gonna cut you. But go ahead.
Okay.
No.
It's the masters know how to ride the line.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Even Chappelle. Chappelle is one of those guys. Yep. Honestly, he's mastered riding the line.
Oh yeah.
And but not everybody can do it. And so, and if you know that not everybody can do it, and you have the opportunity to screen, then you need to find a better process.
It's just like, and I'm gonna give you a quick example, and I'll let you wrap. But the chicken joke when he's on the plane, and the flight attendant walks up to him and say, "Hey, fish or chicken?" And then how he would have the little people on his shoulder. It could have gone wrong. It could have been racist. I mean, but he did it right. And the other thing he's done that could have gone wrong was the race draft. But now it's a classic.
Right.
It could have gone wrong.
And they're still running it.
Yes.
21 years later. And that's that just shows you that when it's funny, it's timeless. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, I mean, because I'm watching. Every day there's a new race draft.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every day
it's
there
part
is
of
a
the
new race
culture
draft.
now. It's part of the culture.
It is, yes. Just like we want to trade in a lot of people we've talked about on this podcast. Let's trade them in for a pack of alligators.
Right, we've used it.
It
on the show. When you change the vernacular, that's saying something.
I agree. All right, so in general, I just have to say I pass on it, and I'll be honest. I looked at the transcript. I felt like I wasn't gonna watch it anyway. I'll be honest with you. I just don't care for it. I only watch Kevin Hart for Jumanji. So whenever there's a,
he was good in that one.
He's good in Jumanji. Yeah. He's good in Jumanji. That he got it. The Jumanji, what do you call them, series? I'm with you, Kevin. Outside of that, No, I'm not really interested.
Exactly.
But Jumanji?
That's a sad commentary. No, but
I'm
one
with
thing
you.
we got to think about with all of this thing, most of these comedians don't even write their own jokes. So let's there's got to be some accountability to me with the so-called joke writers.
Yeah, I agree. But final, what happens though? You as a comedian could have had the jokes written for you, but you're gonna take the heat,
right? Or rewritten, because everything we've sat here and talked about for the last however many minutes, never once have we said, okay, well, Tony Hedgecliffe said this joke, but it was written by John Jones,
right.
And for all we know, most of these writers, they could be like MAGA down.
Yeah. I agree.
Or just racist up. But we don't know that because, it's just like you hear the song, you think, oh, whoever sang the song wrote the song. And we know that's not the case. So same thing with these comedians. There's got to be accountability, I think, on both sides. Because they have the right to say no, or let's rewrite this.
Yeah, I agree. I'll give you the last word, Talib. Go ahead.
Yeah, just one thing I want to say real quick is I don't know if there is a video montage of Ann Coulter's appearances on any of these roasts, but I promise you, if you really want some humor, put together, check out any Ann Coulter comment on any of the roasts over the last maybe like 5-6 years, and I promise you, you will be in stitches.
The Ann Coulter stuff is brutal. It's just brutal.
But you know who
she's not even the one being roasted.
No way. You know who they should They should have Rachel Maddow up there. She would have rewrote and erased everybody.
I don't think Maddow has that level of comedy to go up there and do this. I don't think so. I think she's funny and was I can't agree.
No, wait a minute. Okay, and we are allowed to agree to disagree. But again, you got people who write these jokes for people. So you talk about how funny this, that one, and the third was, but they probably didn't write the joke. So if you gave Rachel Maddow, the same parameters, I think
I'm sure her timing would be good.
She could split a few wigs, and I'm gonna leave it at that.
Ann Coulter getting skewered. Because I forgot which one it was.
Her and Jimmy J.J. Walker,
God.
get out of it. Oh, please.
No, I'm just talking about the fact that she wasn't even the
she wasn't the person being roasted. She was just one of the roastees.
Everybody came up.
Oh, man.
JJ
wrote. But I got you. Let's move on, y'all. NAACP. The out of bounds SEC boycott.
Oh Lord!
So this is a 180 shift from what we just talked about, but we got to mention it because it is still coming up. I was watching. I'm here in Atlanta, but I do follow Frank Ski, and Frank Ski had something to say on his podcast. Every podcaster said something. I wanted to make sure we kind of closed out with our thoughts. The NAACP and the Congressional Black Caucus are boycotting, it says SEC and ACC universities, but I'm seeing more so the SEC university in states like Alabama, Georgia, Texas, Florida, accused of Jim Crow-like racial gerrymandering. We know about that, and we've talked to Howard, we've had the conversation about the VRA after the Supreme Court ruling. Basically, the demands, the Out of Bounds campaign is asking athletes to withhold commitments to transfer from these schools until the voting maps are restored. Now, I'm going to stop right there, and I'm going to tell you what I think. Now, I agree with boycotts. I think boycotts are still the right tool, but they have to make sense.
Hello.
And at this point, if you kind of follow, and, I'm a sports fan. I played high school basketball, okay? Not on the level, I had some opportunities to play college ball. It was a totally different day versus what we're dealing with now with NIL. But I'm here to tell you, I think the only athletes that are eligible now, because the portal has closed, would be the high schoolers, okay? And I'm here to tell you, these high schools, they've already got them. And we had a conversation, you may remember this, Tonya B. We were talking about the racist coach in Warner Robins, Georgia, that actually trained a lot of these players in high school. He was an independent trainer, and these are guys that the universities can't touch, but they have these independent guys out here going after these young guys who are in high school. And in many cases, it starts in middle school. They're already recruiting them with these independent guys who funnel. It's like a funnel.
It's just like that guy in California with the rich kids, the dumb rich kids, and their parents, like what's her name, Aunt Becky from whatever that show was. These rich people that paid that guy to get all their kids into USC and create these, profiles of them being athletes, and they were dumb as a box of rocks.
Yeah, but I'll say this, and this is my issue with it. They haven't thought it through. It really hasn't been well thought out. Yeah. Because the funnel starts with the parents. I mean, as soon as they recognize in junior high that a kid is off the charts, because a lot of them are that early, or they're big, or they're fast, they start recognizing that. Trust me, they get some independent people in there, but not only are they juicing the kids, they're juicing the parents.
Exactly.
They're juicing the family. Yep. They're giving the family hope. Damn,
and money.
He can be in the pros.
Absolutely.
So we're gonna train him. Basically, because what happens is they're going to train them. They give them all these special, training, perks. Quote unquote, perks. And bottom line is they're working because the schools can't go in. They can't do that. They can't go in and be doing perks. I mean, it's illegal. NCAA, they get in trouble. Right. So all these little independent guys are out here working for them to help these guys get to eventually the school that they may be working for. They offer them to these coaches because the reason I mentioned that racist coach down in Warner Robins, we're in Atlanta, in the Atlanta area, is the fact that he took all these pictures with Kirby. He had a picture with Dabo at Clemson. He had a picture with pictures with every major coach. Now you can get that, you can do that, but it's rare the kind of pictures, the one-on-ones, giving them he's got footballs in his car signed by all these major coaches. Because he's part of the funnel.
That's what he does.
So you can't, my whole thing is, when it comes down to these kids and you're asking them to sacrifice what could be millions, and a friend of mine, who's a friend of mine, female, went to school together, said, oh, you're asking them to get rid of them white girls too.
Saquon Barkley.
I know it sounds like a joke, but she was serious. She's like, look, that's how they start.
Yeah,
that's how they start funneling all these little quote unquote they call them perks. Yes, it starts early. That whole mentality. So I'm just wondering how they got to clear a mentality. Who wants to give up millions? These kids ain't gonna give up millions because they know as soon as I say no, somebody else gonna jump right in.
Yeah. But they also don't.
Yeah, go ahead.
They don't see the bigger picture. They don't see that this could end at any moment. God forbid you have an injury. Then, okay, like I said, they will cast you aside and get the next person. And some of these, and I call them children. Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead, Tonya B. I'm just going to throw it to you. Go ahead, and then we'll go to you.
And what they did, the one part that they're missing, and maybe the parents who, again, because they're seeing money, because they go into the hood and find the poorest people that barely can pay their Section 8 rent. But the thing is, what they're not, the part I think that they're missing is that their fundamental rights are under attack, and they don't even see it.
No, nor do they care.
Right, and they don't care until it affects the pocketbook. And that's really empathy. But then, they're like pimps. That's what I call them, popcorn pimps. These sports agents, and they know they know, like a pimp can tell, oh, I can finesse that one. I can maneuver that one. So a lot of it's mind control. So it's almost like with how 48 go away before you try to run again. You focusing on the lowest common denominator. Yeah. Of intelligence and financial stability. And in this case, it's financial instability. And I don't know if these kids even realize that it's, like you said, they don't care because it's short money. But a lot of them don't even know how to see the bigger picture. And then when they fall from grace, and they end up sleeping on the street like that. I forgot that player in L.A., and they get killed in a homeless encampment. Then it's like, oh, but you know what? And again, they go after people that they know will have they have to have no accountability to.
Yeah. And I'm going to say this real quick, and I mentioned it, and I'm going to go to you, Talib. The transfer portal, if you're talking about college kids who could make a decision and leave, it closed. And it's it's really closed until 2027. Yeah. And that's why I was saying the campaign is really meant to pressure high school recruits who haven't signed yet. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm focused more so because, it not the portal for the college kids, the ones who are already there, who could transfer out, that's closed until 2027. Let me go to you, Talib. Go ahead.
Let me say that, when it comes to this, the reason for the boycott was I know this is not the only reason, of course, but I couldn't really distinguish between that LSU Ole Miss debate. Everything that I heard, was, I couldn't figure out, were they arguing about who was the most racist? Were they pro themselves and anti the others, or were they anti the others, or were they pro themselves and anti the others?
Explain that.
I mean is that they were saying, okay, Ole Miss and LSU were arguing about who was the most racist. They saying, was LSU saying that I'm more racist than you, or was LSU saying you are more racist than me? You know what I mean? That's the real question, and everything that I checked out really couldn't give me a clear definition on that one. So I don't know where to stand in that debate. All I know is that both of them are whack. when it
you got more schools than that, though.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Definitely. But so the thing is, exactly, we're coming back down to these NIL deals. That's where it's at right now. And really, you're asking me to give up, a couple $100,000 a year and go to a school that cannot get me to where I'm trying to be?
Hello.
Is that what I'm understanding? You're asking me to give up the money and the opportunity? Because let's be honest, are the NFL, NBA, and all these other organizations going to the HBCUs to recruit as heavily as they are going to the SEC and the ACC and the Pac-10 and all these other schools? No. So because of that, now you want me to be disadvantaged for what advantage? What is our end game? Again, I'm down with the boycott. I'm down with speaking our minds. You know that. I love that. I love to see us doing it. I love it when we can say fuck the money. But realistically, most of these kids can't.
They don't.
Yeah.
Look, my cousin.
To leave, they just want to buy mama a house.
Yeah, that's
Listen,
it. But what they...
Okay, go ahead, T.
Mama can't pay their taxes on the house, so they end up losing the house because they don't pay the taxes. So the utilities.
Right.
That's the truth about it.
The money, so the money has to keep coming in, which means that I got to keep doing more and more to ensure that this situation maintains. And that's the problem. Then we're getting people caught up in this whole money trap. Yeah. So I wanted to say shout out to two folks. My cousin Billy Medley, Queens, New York. He used to do all the basketball tournaments over at IS8.
Oh, wow.
Anybody that's come through Queens, Kenny Anderson, Stefan, all these cats have all come through my cousin at one point or another. And my cousin was a recruiter for Cardozo High School. And DeClario, who was the coach over at Cardozo, kept my cousin around with just enough, so that it wasn't, it wasn't anything illegal, but he knows that he needs to have eyes and ears on the street. And if you're doing the tournaments, then who else do I go to?
Yep.
Finally, Billy has actually gotten recognized for some of the work that he's done. But, in terms of what impact he's really had, no, he's never seen the cash for it. You know what I mean? Wow. And that's again part of how the recruitment process went. The recruitment started at the street level. So these are kids in elementary school, junior high school, playing in the parks. Of course, and there's a feeder system that takes these cats through when they have potential. Yeah. Second shout out is I want to say what's up to Paris Johnson Everybody, y'all know Parrish.
Yeah.
Parrish, from retiring from the record business, so to speak, I worked with him while he was taking his son and his friends through the AAU basketball circuit.
Oh wow!
And yeah, you want to talk about some money being spent? This AAU, whether it's football, volleyball, whatever the high school sport is, whatever the sport is, going through these AAU circuits, you are paying, and people are paying, so they're getting sponsorships. This is a recruitment process. The cats that I was with, we actually had one student who worked with, who was part of the big Atlanta, the Game Elite Big Five, as our team was called, Scoot Henderson, who wound up, going to the G League, and then, got picked up by Portland. So, again, but there is a process. These students are being routed. This is dead serious. And there is a lot of money being exchanged because these people have to be taken care of. So if you're asking me to give up that pipeline that I need because my parents have invested, someone has invested already in me, because if you're just playing high school sports, you're not getting looks.
Yeah.
You have to go AAU. You have to go D League and all these other little, organizations around. There's no way around it if you want to get noticed. So come on, let's be honest about this. What are you putting in place to ensure that I still get the opportunities? Because I can't lose the opportunity. This is a stupid boycott as far as I'm concerned at this particular time.
Yeah, I got you. All right, so let's stop there. Tonya B, you already gave your comments, right?
Yes, I did. Yes,
I'm gonna say this, and I'm just gonna turn the tables back on the CBC. Let me ask the question, okay? Why didn't the Voting Rights Act get codified while we had the chance? That's my question. And when I first saw the boycott and I saw the CBC, and I looked back at the Obama administration, and I looked that there was an opportunity to codify the Voting Rights Act, knowing that this was headed this way. Why didn't we do more to get the John Lewis bill done? So that, part of that is not our fault. Part of that is not the people's fault and the folks who are asking to boycott. I think there needs to be some accountability in Congress, especially among the CBC and its members. Why didn't you do more when you had the opportunity, when you've had the, basically when you look at the House and the Senate, you've had the majority. Why couldn't you get Pelosi and Schumer at the time to pay attention and codify the things you needed codifying for your community? That's my biggest question to them, because it hurt me that the John Lewis bill is still collecting dust, but it didn't get through when we had a majority. We let Manchin and we let Sinema own us.
Torpedo.
Why didn't you say to them, look, we're going to primary, just like Trump is doing, just like the Republicans are doing for these other senators who, the House and the Senate. When they don't step in line, they get primaried and they get kicked out. Just do it. Yep. So you let two senators torpedo two major acts for the black community.
Right.
The John Lewis Act and the George Floyd Act.
Oh, yeah.
Where Biden promised his brother and looked the little girl in the face, if you recall, and said, we're going to get this passed for your dad.
Right.
We don't have it. So my whole point is there needs to be some accountability for not only the NAACP, but mainly for the CBC and the Democratic Party. Because once again, we were told, if you recall, wait, just hold on, we'll take care of you later.
Right. Wait your turn. Wait your turn.
Wait your turn. Wait your turn.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to go into the things they did get passed.
Right.
Okay, I'm not going to go into that because I'm gonna take this podcast to 2 hours. But
2 days.
But you know what I'm saying. You probably know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
In terms of the stuff they did push for and get passed.
Yeah.
versus the things that really could have impacted and protected the black community. So it's all about why didn't you do what you could have done when you had the chance? So that's me. I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm all for boycott. I believe that the boycott's done the right way, that are well thought out. I mean, I think the Target boycott was on point.
Yeah.
I think that was
that
when you tell people to stop shopping somewhere because they fucked you around, people stop walking in your store.
And that's the blueprint that we need to follow. That needs to be.
But you're gonna tell somebody really, and it's even like watching. What's this whole thing about stop watching something? No, people don't stop watching stuff because nobody knows whether they watch it or not. You know what I'm saying?
Well, maybe Nielsen. No, I got but see Target was very out front, so you knew. What was going on.
When you see black people walking in the store, they get side-eyed. Like,
right.
What you going in there for?
And you knew when it was going from one state and one church to another, because that's kind of like our CNN, because so many black cities don't even have radio stations that cater to the black the communities of color anymore. Yeah. So now the church is our CNN.
Yep. I went long, Talib. I'm gonna give you the last word, and then we're gonna go to break, and then Tonya B will come back to T. Go ahead, Talib. Last word.
I think that. Like I said, I just think that this idea is misdirected. We don't want to take anything away from the students. I don't want to take any opportunities out of the students' hands unless something is being replaced. Now, if you want to really call for a boycott, then we need to talk about the fandom and how we support through tickets and merch and all kinds of stuff like that for these schools. Now I'm cool with that. If we went on a 2-year moratorium from buying merchandise of your favorite, SEC or ACC team, let's do that. You know what I mean? Let's take some money away from their pockets, but let's not bite off our noses to spite our faces either. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, we still need a little bit of that. For sure.
Hey, fine. Stop wearing that UGA. Stop buying the UGA.
Hey. Every sport.
I'm gonna leave it at that. Hey, y'all, let's go ahead. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back with the tea. Here we go.
Let me go get my Red Rock.
All right, here we go.
Now then, children, it's time for tea.
It's tea time, y'all. Sipping the tea with Tonya B.
Tonya B ran the marathon. What you got, Tonya B?
Okay, yes, we did. Okay, let's get right into it. This week, we cannot ignore this. Let's remember jazz legend Sonny Rollins. Over a 60-year career. And, he really was a game changer in the world of jazz, 95 years young. But, there was that photo that was taken back in 1958, a great day in Harlem, whatever, with all these musicians and creators. He was the last surviving member of that iconic photo. So we got to say rest in peace to Sonny Rollins. Also, Clarence Jones, who is unsung because he's the one that really crafted and drafted the I Have a Dream speech for Dr. King. We also have to say shout out to if you're not in the music industry, you know of his work. John McClain, son of legendary piano virtuoso Dorothy Donegan, was his mom. A lot of people didn't know that. But, he's the one that put Michael and Janet on. And he also was even through his illness, he was the co-executor of the Michael Jackson estate. So when you look at how he brought Michael Jackson out of $1 billion in debt when he was, at the time of his death, and you look at what he's done with the estate, and with the Michael movie, you can't discount his contributions. Also, a young man, Talib, I know you know James Anthony Carmichael. all the songs he's written for Motown legends, the Commodores, he put on Atlantic Star. I mean, all these songs, the Jacksons, and he's really going to be missed because he really was, that unsung, the glue that kept them all together and really put them out front, especially Lionel Richie when he kicked off his solo career. And last, we want to say condolences to Atlanta's favorite daughter, well, one of her favorite daughters, and I say her as in the state of state of Georgia rather. Monica, singer Monica, lost her dad, so we send her love, light, and condolences as well. Now, I don't know if anybody cares about the American Music Awards. I didn't watch. Queen Latifah looked great. That's all I really cared about. But she's got new music coming, and I hope whatever she puts out album-wise will do her justice.
I'm gonna stop you there just for a minute. I was glad to see her bring her family all out on the red carpet. That was good for her. She needed to do that.
Yeah, and she's kind of she's very private about her private life, and rightfully so, because you give up a lot of privacy when you're as high level a public figure as she is. But she gave her partner, her wife Ebony, a shout out at the BET Awards, and her son. She keeps him out of the public eye, and understandably so, because people are crazy out here. But the fact that I think she's really comfortable in her skin and doesn't have to answer to anybody for what she does or doesn't do. So
it's her life. Yeah, it's her life. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So it is, and like I said, if she could not bring UNITY back to that show that is like a Titanic when it comes to award shows, nobody could. I think people just watch the clips for her. Cardi B had a big night, and that was a good thing. But it was like award shows are like, pugh. So anyway, we got to talk about this cluster F of this America 250 versus the Freedom 250. The artists that say they were misled, they thought it was not, and even like the Commodores, they said, we don't support one particular political party, so they kind of stepped into that gray area. But you look at that bill, and we saw the Milli Vanillis, and we saw the Young MCs and the Martina McBrides and Morris Day in the time, and as each day went on, they all backed out. But see, the thing is that they're both nonprofits, and this thing that Orange Man has put together, they don't have to list their donors, nor do they have to tell you where their money comes from. But we know it comes from places like John Deere Tractor and the Skydance Media and things along that line. So I think even for those who I was confused by both of them too. I didn't know one was different from the other. But the thing is that with America 250, like you were saying, this is something that was an act of Congress back in 2016.
Which is significant, Tonya B, because it's nonpartisan.
Exactly.
And that's the thing that people in America, anybody, if you listen to this podcast, understand there's a significant difference between America 250 and Freedom 250. I just want to leave it at that. We know why. Go ahead.
Yeah, but it's a no. But one thing you got to love about Bruce Springsteen, he just don't give a F. So he's having his Power to the People festival, and so far it's him and the Dave Matthews Band, and they're going to do that. Just he really is not a fan of the orange one. So at the end of the day, I hope that this this GOP-led thing goes away. It's kind of, I think about the demise of BET, and I say the demise because it's no longer black-owned, and it's owned by a company that's very closely aligned with the occupant of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, and I give it 2-3 years. I think it's not going to even be around anymore. I really do.
I mean, eventually they're just going to, just like they did with Tyler Perry.
Yep.
You had BET Plus. They bought out all of Tyler Perry.
Yep.
So all the shows that were on BET Plus, you just watch in Paramount Plus.
Yeah, or you can go to a channel called Pluto. Pluto shows a lot of them too, and Pluto's free. Yeah,
Pluto shows the older, the recurrent products.
Yeah,
and when it comes down to the current stuff, the new episodes, you'll see them in Paramount Plus.
Yeah, but they also, Pluto also has BET Her, which also was a.
Oh yeah, I love Pluto.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Me too.
I mean, it used to be owned by Nas. It was Nas's.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Nas sold it to Paramount.
Yeah, and people forget about that.
When it was Pluto,
and then sometimes when you have original things like movies or songs, sometimes it's just best to leave them be. Everybody can't put their foot in the potato salad. And with that said, I'll say that Vibe magazine's being resurrected, and people, the generation that we came up with Vibe, I'm like, what's the content going to be? Because the millennials and the XYZ, they're not going to care about that. They're only going to print 1,000 copies of Vibe magazine, what they're going to charge for it, and I don't mean to, bring down the room, but I don't see it. I think it's going to go the way of the Vibe TV show. Remember that?
Well, you ain't bringing down the room here. It ain't my money. It ain't my money. What else you got? I got a couple of things to close out.
Okay, and just one more thing I want to say, congratulations, because you got to give credit where credit is due. You may recall the campaign Kenny Lattimore and his wife, Judge Faith Jenkins, had about the people, the keyboard gangsters who were saying those disparaging things about them and other people, and how they took it to like the highest court that they could, and they still haven't let it go, but they just had a baby boy. So I want to congratulate them, and now they've got a daughter and a son. So I just think I love their black love. That's all I can say about them. So shout out to Kenny and Faith. Robert Roman Lattimore is here, and I'm sure great things will come from him.
Good stuff. Good
I
stuff.
want to end on a high note.
I just got a couple of things.
Okay.
Shout out to Gucci Mane.
Why?
He took to social media to celebrate 1 year where he publicly shared his bipolar disorder and schizophrenia
that's what
disorder.
it is.
So it's been about a year. I got to say congrats to the movie Michael. Last weekend it was #1, man. That is a big accomplishment when you consider the people who really tried to kill the movie.
They did.
Early.
Yep.
So I got to say congrats to them. Thank you so much, Morris Day, because y'all were good. I was about to just, I was in tears when I saw it. So thank you for stepping up. And this is for you, Tonya B. This week marked the 43rd anniversary.
Yes.
Where 5 school-age kids from Boston Projects, you know who they are.
My boys, yes.
Changing R&B forever on May 29th, 1983. Bobby, Ralph, Ricky, and Ronnie, better known as New Edition, their debut single Candy Girl went to #1 in the UK pop, and that led to. They own the R&B chart. They never hit #1 on the Hot 100.
Right.
But Candy Girl was definitely #1 on R&B, but it was #1 on the pop charts in the UK this week. So congrats to them. And that's that is what was the projects that they were in?
OP, Orchard Park.
That's it. Exactly. But I gotta say, and I wanna let's go ahead and wrap it up. Yeah. We'll just wrap it up like this. And I'll start. I gotta say, you've seen the movie When Harry Met Sally.
Yes.
When they're in the restaurant, the judge and the police officer in the city of Atlanta, who were getting it on
in the office
so loud.
How loud were they?
That everybody could hear it. All I could think about when I saw that story was Harry Met Sally.
I'll have what she's having.
I'm telling you, that is my Atlanta is make-believe. Atlanta is a make-believe place story of the week.
What?
Jesus, take the wheel.
Not in the office, but I'll leave it at that. I just wanted to say.
On the desk.
Weird,
no, or are they on the floor?
Is it proven, Tonya B? Is it factual?
Wait, no, here's how you prove it. Stand up, let's see who's got rug burns on their knees. That's all.
No. All right, Tonya B, what you got?
Look, what else do I need?
You got any shout out? No, okay. Talib.
Wait. No, I do want to say. I do. Sorry, I do have one. Everybody, I know this is every time's a critical time when it comes to voting in elections, checking your status. Down here in Fulton County, Atlanta, a lot of runoffs. A lot of people don't want to go back and vote when there's a runoff. But please, 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 in the name of James Brown, wherever you are, if there's a runoff election, please go vote. The law requires your employer, if you have one, to give you time off to go vote. Call your local city.
You can call, Secretary of State's office.
You can call anybody, and you can get a free ride to and from the polls. And
not that, but I'm just saying.
They have that, and if don't forget, I know in Georgia, if you are 75 plus, go with somebody 75 plus. You can jump to the front of the line with no wait, and you can vote. And don't say, "Oh, the line was too long." You know what? If it was a club, you'd be in line. If it was a new sneaker, your ass would be in line. So look at it like that.
Well, it's not going to be too long, trust me, for runoffs. It's going to be easy to get in and out of there.
Yeah, right, but the people have to come. And people have to come. Yeah.
So true. Go ahead. You, Talib, what you got?
I got a shout out to a new website that I found, TANGOTI.com. That stands for There Are No Girls on the Internet. And they have a little they have a little segment that they run. It's a podcast. They have a segment that they run where it's news you may have missed. So I just started following them on Instagram, and they had a lot of good stories. Stuff that just couldn't get to this week, of course, but I mean, very, very interesting. And also want to say what's up to all the Geminis out there, in particular. Debbie Lewis, the writer Debbie, happy birthday. And that's about it. Yeah.
I got you. Don't forget, y'all, scan the QR code on our logo. If you're watching this, you'll see it. Social media, all the links are there. You can go to castropolis.net. You can check us out. As a matter of fact, you can go there and you will see the audio portion of the podcast, and you can sign up with Spotify there. Use the people poll. We have the voice link there where you can go on and leave a voice message. Love to hear from you. Again, if you're not on Spotify, please get on Spotify. It makes it easier for us to send you episodes and notifications every week. Download the Live 365 app for Castropolis, or that's at castropolis.net as well, for Velvet Frequency Radio. Again, every Sunday, these episodes air at 6 p.m. And at 4 p.m., you can check out the Bird Wire with Tonya B, y'all. The replay of this podcast and all of our podcasts happen on Velvet Frequency Radio. And also, that's where Smooth Vibes meets Soulful Beats. So you can go there and check it out. And I'm your host every Monday through Friday from 2 to 7 before Velvet After Dark or Before Dark. And then you know what I'm saying. You know what to do. All right, y'all. With that, episode 312 is in the can. Thank you so much for supporting us. Thank you so much for joining us. And don't forget, y'all, share the show if you like what you hear. If you like what you see, go ahead and share it. Thank you so much, Talib. Thank you for coming back. Thank you so much, Tonya B. And with that, I got to say peace and power to the people. Y'all have a great week.
Happy Black Music Month.
You've been listening to This is the G Podcast. This is the G Podcast is a production of the Castropolis Podcast Network. Thanks for listening.